Be on guard if you begin to shiver. Shivering is the body's protective mechanism that increases the rate of your body's metabolism. This is a solid sign that hypothermia may be at the beginning stages. Hypothermia is one of, if not the most serious side effects of cold stress. It occurs once the body loses the ability to maintain its normal temperature and loses heat faster than it can be replaced. Other signs to watch for include slow or slurred speech, confusion, hallucinations, weak and irregular pulse, or unconsciousness. Frostbite, like hypothermia, can be a disastrous side effect of cold stress as well. It usually occurs when there is damage to the skin caused by the extreme cold temperatures. In most cases, frostbite is likely to happen in body parts farthest away from the heart, like in your hands and feet, or even more specifically your fingers and toes. You can usually recognize frostbite by discoloration of the skin. It will lack a normal, healthy flesh tone. You will also have burning and tingling sensations, or anything from partial to complete numbness in your extremities. Given the serious nature of both hypothermia and frostbite, let's cover a few key tips for first aid treatment of both conditions. Let's discuss frostbite first. If possible, the victim should be moved to a warm but never hot, safe area. Although you may instinctively want to rub or massage the affected areas, don't. Ice crystals that may have formed in the skin act as tiny knives and ruin body tissue when rubbed. If medical attention is not immediately available, the affected areas should be placed in warm water no more than 110 degrees until the body tissue is soft and the victim's sensation has returned. Now, for hypothermia, as with frostbite, it is most important to first move the person out of the cold to prevent additional loss of body heat. Once that is achieved, you should take the following steps. First, if the person is wearing wet clothes, remove them and replace with a dry covering. When doing this, try not to move the person too much. If necessary, cut away the clothing. Lay the person on their back on a blanket or other warm surface. If the affected person is alert and is able to swallow, have the person drink a warm, non-alcoholic or non-caffeinated beverage. This will help to warm the body. This could include beverages like warm water or decaffeinated tea. And since sugary drinks can help increase the body's metabolism, even a warm glass of apple juice or a cup of hot chocolate could do the trick. Alcoholic drinks, on the other hand, reduce the body's ability to retain heat, so these types of drinks should be avoided. The core body temperature needs to be warmed gradually. In the case of severe hypothermia, never apply direct heat to the victim. This includes using hot water or a heating pad to warm the person. You should also not attempt to warm the affected person's arms and legs. Heat applied to the arms and legs forces cold blood back toward the heart, lungs, and brain. That will cause the core body temperature to drop even further and could put the victim into shock. Some people are more susceptible to cold stress than others, but for people who are not physically fit, have a chronic illness, drink alcohol, or take drugs, including prescription drugs, are exposed to vibration from tools, or are not used to working in cold, have a higher risk to cold stress. So it is best to be prepared for the cold, helping to prevent cold stress. Here are a few suggestions. Wearing the appropriate clothing is the most important factor for preventing cold stress and related problems. It is best to layer your clothing when working in the cold weather, with the magic number for layers being at least 3. Here's how your layers should break down. Your first layer, or inner layer, which is closest to your body, should allow for good ventilation and would ideally be made of a synthetic weave such as polypropylene. This type of fabric wicks away moisture and maintains a dry layer against your skin, commonly in the form of long underwear. Next, your mid-layer or layers should be made of down or wool to help insulate and absorb sweat. As we learned earlier, since water takes away heat from the body, keeping dry when working in the cold is essential. Last but not least, your outer layer should be composed of a fabric like Gore-Tex or nylon that prevents air penetration and keeps a good separation from the cold. Most often, modern winter jackets are made of this type of fabric. Since 40% of your body's heat is lost through the head, a hat or wool cap goes a long way to keeping you warm. Protection for your hands and feet is extremely critical. For foot protection, insulated boots are recommended, with felt inserts, rubber bottoms, and leather tops for ventilation. If you are working in wet conditions, waterproof boots may be necessary. But remember, waterproof boots may not allow for perspiration to escape from your feet and could leave you more susceptible to frostbite in very cold conditions. If you know that you'll be working in conditions where you may get wet or perspire, bring some extra clothes with you to work. It is better to be safe with what you need than to be in danger and wish you had the extra clothes. You should also be aware that while it might seem to make a lot of sense to have extra thick socks or double up with 2 pairs, you will be a lot warmer if your socks are not too thick. When your socks are too thick, they lose some of their insulating properties. Beyond being prepared with the appropriate protective clothing, there are several on-the-job practices that you should take into consideration to prevent cold stress as well. It is